Episode 2. I've always been an irrational optimist, a glass half full kind of guy. So when I headed back to the hospital in 2013, I actually felt great. I figured the brain surgery was the big boss, and I'd already beaten it. But my parents, who were much smarter than me, knew better. They knew that when a world-class neurosurgeon says a tumor didn't start in the brain, he probably isn't guessing. I was walking into a room expecting a pat on the back, and instead, I was about to get hit by a locomotive. So we went to Lurie Children's Hospital to meet a pediatric oncologist. Now, children's hospitals are incredible. They are full of empathy and bedside manner, and the level of support they provide the children and their families is incredible. I owe my life to Lurie Children's Hospital, and I wouldn't be in the place I am today without them. And I was right on that cusp of being too old to be in a children's hospital. And if you know me, you know that I didn't just want a frowny face and a painless solution that didn't exist. I wanted the truth. I wanted someone to rip the Band-Aid off and straight up tell me how bad it is. While the doctor was making small talk with my parents and pulling up scans, I just wanted him to say it. And finally, he did. He said the words that most people associate with an ending. I was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. Man, I still don't believe this shit. The only question that still comes up every day is just how. Not why or any pity party shit. Just how. How did this happen? What did I do? I'll never know, but it's still a thought that surfaces most days. So I'm going to pull up the official report. So the first image is just of my lungs, and you can see that there's definitely a spot on the top right of my lung. And then the next two images from a PET scan, you can see that you can definitely see there's a tumor in the top right of my lung. And then also an enhancement in one of the lymph nodes. And then the last image is of my legs. And as you can see, in my right ankle bone, there's another enhancement. So yeah, this is the official written report from Lurie Children's Hospital. And there's just a bunch of medical terms that's honestly kind of hard to decipher. But I think the images are clear as day. And the second group of images that I'm looking at is one, a full body scan. It almost looks like an x-ray. And then the other one is me laying on my belly and looking at my lungs. And again, you can see that little tumor in there. And just think of it as the spine is the very top of that scan. And you can almost see the two circular bones are my shoulders. So those are the scans we got back as a 15-year-old in January of 2013. And I'll be real, like the first gut reaction was, there's no way that's happening in my body. I feel fine. Like I just played basketball last week. There's no way that there's tumors all throughout my body. And, the headaches are gone. I was making a full recovery. And that's the only thing that I really felt was the brain tumor. And that was gone. So stage 4 means the cancer has already traveled. I had a quarter-sized tumor in my lung, a tumor in my ankle, and the one we just resected out of my brain. And let's look at the math for a second. And this is math that I still have a hard time with. Lung cancer is the leading cause of cancer death in the US. The 5-year survival rate of stage 4 is 12%. That means 88% of people don't make it to the 5-year mark. And at that time, there were only a handful of cases ever reported in the US for someone under 18. I wasn't just a patient. I was a statistical anomaly. And in that moment, the typical person who had lung cancer was someone who smoked for 10 years or 20 years or was close to secondhand smoke or pollution. Like, I was a healthy kid with none of that going on. How did this happen? And to have lung cancer as a 15-year-old who wasn't exposed to any of that, and it just felt like there was a million things coming at me at once. I was an emotional kid, but in that moment, I broke. The waterworks came out. Everything I feared was validated. But after getting knocked down, I realized again, you have two choices. You can stay depressed and have a victim's mentality, or you can facilitate a plan, write it down, do some research, and then move forward. I started building my team. My parents, my girlfriend, my brothers, we became a unit. And today, we've spent the last decade doing enough research to practically earn MDs. At the end of the day, cancer is a beast. You need your team, you need your community to help support you. You can't do this alone. So first came the cleanup. Brain radiation to kill the microscopic cells that a neurosurgeon couldn't see. But then we had to face the elephant in the room, the original tumor in my lung. The hospital gave me two options. The first was to do chest radiation, and the second was to cut out the top third of my right lung. Both sounded like a nightmare. I was 15, but I was already thinking about kids, a family, my 40s, 50s, 60s, growing old, experiencing life, traveling. I wanted a long-term solution, not just a quick fix to address what was directly in front of us. We weren't just going to take the first suggestion. I don't care how many doctors I had to see. So we ended up getting a second opinion from University of Chicago, from Dr. Salgia. He was the out-of-the-box thinker that we needed. He looked at me holistically. He even suggested freezing my sperm so I could have kids one day. That was the first time someone actually talked to me like I had a future, which is insane. I swear it felt like some doctors talked to me like I was an 80-year-old patient, one that they knew wouldn't be around that much longer. Like, what is that? But then the pathology results were in for my brain resection. It had a mutation called ALK positive. When the oncologist saw that, he was giddy with excitement, and I had no idea why. ALK positive anaplastic lymphoma kinase is a rare mutation found in only 4% of lung cancer patients. At that moment, I was the youngest person in the US ever reported with it. That's another crazy stat, but it was the key. It meant I didn't just have to rely on brutal radiation or chemo. I could use a targeted oral chemotherapy. Basically just pop a pill every day and live my normal life. To further elaborate on why this was so huge, think of it like this. The typical cancer treatment through chemo or radiation is like using a sledgehammer to kill a fly. You kill all the healthy tissue and healthy cells around it. ALK positive meant we finally had a sniper rifle to carefully aim and kill our target. So in March of 2013, I started my first ALK inhibitor called crizotinib. This was the beginning of my everyday resistance. It was the first step toward finding some normalcy in a life that had just been turned upside down, a complete 180. I went from wondering if I'd die in a month to taking a pill every day that could fight back. But as I'd soon find out, the war was far from over. This was just the first battle of 2013. Next time we talk about what it's like to be living as a medical miracle while just trying to be a normal-ass teenager. Thanks for listening to Despite Adversity. I'm Jake Gass, and I'll see you in the next one.